The Linux kernel 7.0 is right around the corner. Security bugs keep piling up, and I've got some hardware and some projects and some fun goings on in the Linux community. And I've also got my bottle of root beer. It's been a long week. Let's do Linux Weekly. Big story of the week, Linux 7.0. It's getting close-ish to release. Like Linux 7.0 is coming down the pike. It's likely that Ubuntu 26.04 is going to release with it. So that'll be nice. Just nice to see. Scheduler changes and improvements, which we'll talk a little bit more about. Options for gaming and game configuration and fun stuff. Our Thelio Mira. It's hardware some launching. We'll talk a little bit about that. Might as well go ahead and boot that up, like I'm trying to boot up this program. This program, the Weekly Linux Show, it's going to be covering stuff that we talk about in the Level 1 forums. You can also ask about things. It's like, hey, I have a question. We have like the Linux small problem thread where you don't have to create your own thread. You can just kind of hop in a discussion, and something like that maybe is a little less intimidating. Trying to make the Linux community sort of have the warm and fuzzies. I don't know. I'm just hanging out and doing stuff. But Linux kernel 7 is coming, and I'm really excited for that because Linux is actually kind of going mainstream. Is it the year of the Linux desktop? That's the joke every episode. But it might actually be, because where else are you going to get an escape hatch from the operating systems that you're suffering under? The yoke of disillusionment. I don't know. Linux is great. And Linux is, just through sheer accretion, is gaining enough momentum and mass to carry it forward as a normie operating system. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. It is really nice to see Linux be performance first for both users and the enterprise, because Linux has already taken over the universe basically everywhere except the desktop. So, I mean, come on. Kind of a lot happened in security this week in Linux. As a reminder to make sure that all of your stuff is patched. Routers and switches, sure. I mean, because those probably run Linux in some form or another. But Telnet D, what year is this? 96. CVSS score of 9.8. Authentication bypass. It's the new Telnet utilities, which affects not just Linux, also FreeBSD and a bunch of other operating systems. Why are you running Telnet in 2026? Yeah, it's a 9.8. Remote code execution, privilege escalation, the whole 9 yards. Also, AppArmor had a lot of flaws. Root escalation, container isolation bypass. Also not good. SSH stalker botnet using IRC. IRC for command and control. Old school methods. It's kind of an old school week, isn't it? With Telnet and OpenSSH. Now, I don't know, but I kind of get the feeling that there are a lot of people out there that are employing AI to look for these vulnerabilities. I didn't see any direct evidence of, some giant organization running AI to look for vulnerabilities. But I think the AI tooling that we have is going to get really good at finding these kinds of bugs. If not now, certainly in the near future. And that's going to improve the state of things. Because, again, Linux is running everywhere. So this is kind of a huge vulnerability. Do you think Linux is buggier than ever? Or do you think that because Linux is used everywhere, it just seems like Linux is buggier than ever, but in reality, it's pretty hardened? My opinion is that the trash dumpster fire of commercial proprietary software that I had to use even in networking and integration contexts is certainly no better than the state that we find ourselves in. It is not apparent to me that Linux is dramatically better, but it is clear that Linux is at least not worse than the insanity visited upon me working on those kinds of systems. So I think, yeah, Linux is probably better then, right? Seems like. And it's on a trajectory to get even better with more tooling and testing and automation and fuzzing and whatever else we got going on. So yeah, that's good to see. If you agree or disagree, that's a good discussion for the forum, right? Where we get the stories for this show and like we could have two-way dialogue. That's what I'm inviting you for. You see, Linux Weekly, episode 3. I don't know. It's only the 3rd episode. Don't hold it against me. Now, I mentioned about the CPU scheduler in the new kernel. There's an astrology-based scheduler. The scheduler is really interesting because we have asymmetric core configurations. AMD is leaning into their compact cores, which are designed to run in a more narrow frequency envelope and have less L3 cache, and their large full Zen cores. And then on the Intel side, we have the performance cores and the efficiency cores, which is an entirely different approach to that problem. Intel's, it's got thread director for scheduling and all that sort of stuff. And so the scheduler has always been kind of modular on Linux, but now we're really leaning into that modularity. There was a story a couple of weeks ago of Meta using the scheduler that was originally developed for the Steam Deck on their servers because they found the server workloads were more responsive, and that was really nice when things were fully loaded. So yeah, Linux kernel 7 is leaning into that. So it's pretty exciting to see. And then falling out of that is, we're scheduling based on the signs of the zodiac to get headlines and clicks. Okay. It's kind of a motto of Linux, isn't it? Linux lets you do stupid things, which can actually be really powerful. I get it. If you feel like you're at the tipping point with alternative operating systems, if you're on, Mac OS or Windows, and you're thinking about moving to Linux, or you have moved to Linux recently, you should give some words of encouragement to your fellow commenter below and or in the forum, and or start a thread and show off pictures of your desktop and what you got working on. My review of this is going to talk about the Cosmic desktop from System 76. The System 76 Mira is launching on, I think, April 10th, and I'm aiming to have my review finished up by then of this hardware. It's really sort of interesting how they have revamped their case and the design and the open hardware that is in here to improve quality of life. The motherboard is based on an ASRock motherboard. They have worked with ASRock to customize the firmware of the particular ASRock motherboard that is in here a little bit. I'm working on making sure that is well supported in Simon, the level 1 text sensor package thing. I'll talk more about that in a second. But so far, really impressed with the Mira and what System 76 has built. And if you are keen to support open source and the mission of what System 76 is doing in their larger software ecosystem and everything else, then I would encourage you to look at Mira as a competent AM5 system that is pretty good. Also, this has NVIDIA for gaming. A bold move there. If you're not looking for NVIDIA, you might check out the review that I did of the Intel B70. It is a 32 gig gaming GPU at, in this our hour of need for under $1,000. It games okay. There's some gaming benchmarks. We got that up on the forum. We talked about that last week, but there was the LLM AI benchmark. Now we've also tested it for gaming, updated the thread in the forum for gaming, and you could bring your own GPU to a system like this and have the B70, because the B70 support, actually the B70 was supported on Linux first before Windows. The Windows driver did not come out. I did not have access to the Windows driver until the day after the GPU launched. But on Linux, fully supported. Firmware was there, firmware updates, single root IO virtualization, the whole 9 yards. So the B70, Intel, 32 gigs, local AI, definitely worth a look. 605 to 615 gigabytes per second memory bandwidth. So you can run some pretty serious local LLMs with that. It is a viable card on certain motherboards, like to run in tandem. So running 2 GPUs on certain AM5 motherboards is reasonable with that GPU. Although there are reasons you might want to go for Threadripper or a higher end system if you're running multiple GPUs like that. But yeah. Oh, it's also pretty frugal with the power, under 300 watts per card. So check out our full review of the B70. And I just wanted to report, because a lot of you asked about the gaming performance, and the gaming performance is there. And the gaming performance is there on Linux as well. For the level 1 community update, Strix Halo. So, Minis Forum, Strix Halo. HP G1A, Strix Halo. Framework Desktop, Strix Halo. GMK Tech, Strix Halo. Strix Halo is still very popular in the Linux community that we have at level 1. And there have been a lot of updates in terms of both Vulkan support and ROCm support for the Strix Halo platform and the Strix Halo toolboxes. So there's a lot of really exciting threads and discussions going on around AI and Strix Halo and the 128 gig platform running there. And with prices being what they are and some of the affordability and that sort of stuff, sometimes you still can find deals on these Strix Halo systems. Micro Center has Minis Forum stuff that they're carrying now, and sometimes you can get some really good deals on that sort of stuff. So check that out. Another community update from Level 1 Techs, we have Simon. It's Siomon. It's a sensor IO monitor. We're working on that. I am planning to add support for more boards. We're trying to get a veal fattening pen, probably is the best way to describe it, going for a workflow around motherboards and collecting sensors and labels for it. Basically taking the BIOS and like setting up a harness here, or I could take the information from the BIOS, probe the Nuvoton chips or other chips on the motherboard, and get that and deploy that. So Simon is going to be yet another sensor monitoring package for Linux, but it's designed to be low friction to add more boards and more labels. Kind of like how RAS Daemon for ECC monitoring in the enterprise is relatively low friction to add more boards and more board labels. So community update, Simon, if you haven't heard of it, it's kind of cool. It's almost, we're like probably 3/4 of the way there for a 1.0. And if you want to support that project, just support the channel, watch and share and comment and like and subscribe and, all that kind of stuff. If you want to see more of that kind of thing, heck, you might even, give us $5 or sponsor us on Patreon or Floatplane or whatever. It's all appreciated. The sponsorships up till now is what has helped fund the development of this, because it's not just me working on it. Patrick in the forum has done some Herculean work on this with me. And I can't believe how quickly it has come together as a competent package for dealing with sensors. You can integrate AMD HSMP. I really like it. So community update there. If you're working on other stuff or there's interesting things going on, post in the forum, because I'll probably include it as part of the community update. All right, so some questions to get you started for next time. What is your desktop environment? What do you like? Are you rocking Cosmic? System 76. Have you heard of Cosmic? Should you check out Cosmic? There's GNOME and KDE and God knows what else. All the little, the fun ones, the Omarchy, the DHH with Omarchy it's a very opinionated distro. We could talk about it below. We could talk about it in the forum if we want sane threading structure and that sort of stuff. A little bit of a prompt for next time. Linux security discussion. Do you think it's getting worse or better over time? Do you think AI tools for doing fuzzing and like the modern version of code linting, it's like linting, but with more annoying steps, will lead to more robust Linux security and more robust platforms and access to that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much it for episode 3. Linux is successful in the enterprise, I think, because it is so repeatable and it is, I don't want to say it's low friction. It's definitely not low friction. It's low friction once you overcome the initial friction. The static coefficient of friction goes to 0, even as the motion of the system goes to 0 once you get over the initial static coefficient of friction. The static coefficient of friction, the elimination of the static coefficient of friction is conserved, I guess I might say. So that once you've eliminated the static coefficient of friction, it's fine, unless you want to change direction or do something else, which is why Linux has completely taken over the universe basically everywhere but the desktop, because the desktop is so random. But that chaos energy is what has helped Linux do so well. So I get it. All right, that's enough of this one, because I think I need some more root beer. Thank you for hanging out. This has been another Linux Weekly. I'm going to keep trying to do this, although it'll probably be better next time, and better the time after that, and the one after that, and also especially with your contributions. So I'm Whittle, this is Level 1 Linux. Signing out, you can find me in the Level 1 forums. Probably working on the review for our System 76 Thelio Mira. It's a miracle that I have time to work on it.